Hello students, we already done the first part of federalism in which we done what is federalisms, the all the seven key features of federalisms. Then we done the two types of federalisms, coming together and holding together. Then we done the federalism in India, the divisions of power, written and a rigid constitutions and an independent judiciary. After that, we done that how power is distributed in India. First, union list, second, state list, and the third one is the concurrent list. Now in federalism 2 we will continue this chapter from here. In the power of distributions, as I told you, it was divided into union list, state list, and concurrent list. Now, changing is a principle of nature. After day comes night, after night comes again day. A child become young and a young person become old. So the subjects which were the main subjects during the making of the constitutions, may be possible that in near future there will be no importance of those subjects and some new subjects will come in near future. So for that, in our constitution, the fourth list or the word is written is about residuary subject, in which all the new subjects comes, like computer was not there during the making of constitution in 1947, but at present computer is one of the major subject and it has its own ministry also. So this subject comes in the residuary subjects. Now the question comes that residuary subjects is handled by whom? The union, the state, or it comes in concurrent? Then the answer is that residuary subjects is controlled by union, the central government, till the subject is not mentioned by an amendment in the constitution that who will tackle this subject. Now, how federalism is practiced in India. The first point is linguistic state. After independence, the major problems comes in front of us is to make to make different states, divide into India into different states. At that time, basically, we divide India on the basis of on their culture, ethnicity, or geography. Later on, we decide to make states on the basis of language. The second divisions of states starts in 1956. In this year, we try an experiment to make states on the basis of language, though there were some leaders who were against of these policies because they were saying that this will harm this policy will harm in near future to India's unity. The first states which comes under this policy was Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh, the whole Telugu region of South India, become a one state which was called Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh was the first state based on language. The result which we will see of Andhra Pradesh was very good. Now the administrations can easily be controlled by the government because the language is not a barrier between the people and the administrators. So when we see the results of the Andhra Pradesh, then we will decide to make states on the basis of language. After that, we will make states like Punjab on the basis of language Punjabi, Gujarat on Gujarati, Maharashtra on Maharashtra, Karnataka on Kannada, Tamil Nadu on Tamil, Kerala on Malayalam, Orissa on Orissa, Bengal on Bengali, Assam on Assam, like this. Now the B point come is the language policy of India. As we see in the beginning, in the first chapter, the example of Sri Lanka and the example of Belgium, there were only two languages. In Sri Lanka, the languages were Tamil and Sinhalese. The government give preference to Sinhali language and not to Tamil language, which creates problems in Sri Lanka and which is still continuing in Sri Lanka. Similarly, the same problem was in Belgium also. Here in India, there were approximately 22 languages which are the official languages plus 845 other languages, the regional languages. Here in India, there is a very famous phrase in India in Hindi, कोस कोस पे बदले पानी, चार कोस पे बाणी. India is a place where we can see a change in the taste of water after every course, means a kilometer, and every after 4 kilometer we can see a little bit change in the language also. So much diversity in language is there in India. So it is necessary for us to make a policy of India which will be in favor of country's unity. The seventh feature of federalism, which is the dual subjects, means to make the diversities plus to create the unity of the country. So after independence we decides two languages. The first one, two languages, the first one is English and the second one is Hindi as a official languages. Now these both languages are not the mother language. Hindi is not our national language, it is a official language only, means all the official works we can do in parliament in English or in Hindi. Plus we also give the same status and preference to the other states. Now it depends on the states that which types of language they want to carry. They were not forced to be continued with their work in English or Hindi. They were totally independent for this. Like some states, Punjab, their first language is Punjabi, the second language is Hindi, and then comes English. In Tamil Nadu, the first language of Tamil Nadu is Tamil and the second is English. In Delhi, there are four official languages of Delhi. The first language is Hindi, the second one is English, the third is Urdu, and the fourth is Punjabi. So all the states are free, whatever languages they want they can take and do their work on that languages. According to the constitutions, the use of English for official purpose was stopped in 1965, but later on it was decided to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purposes. Now the next topic is the center state relation. We can divide the center state relations after independence into three parts. The first 40 years we see that because we get independence and Congress was the main party for behind this, so we will see that there is a Congress in center plus in all the states there is Congress. So because there is a Congress in center plus in all the states, so the states are now totally free. वो totally free थे states, क्योंकि उन्हें मालूम था कि हमारे ऊपर जो गवर्नमेंट है वो हमारी ही गवर्नमेंट रूल कर रही है हमको स्टेट्स सेंटर में. सो हम भी हमको कांग्रेस का चीफ मिनिस्टर है, उसको मालूम है कि सेंटर में नेहरू है और इंदिरा गांधी है, तो वो ज़्यादा कुछ खास वर्क नहीं करते थे, सोए रहते थे. ऐसे में पब्लिक को लॉस होता था. जो मेन स्पिरिट है फेडरलिज्म की कि सेकेंड लेवल, जिसमें सेकेंड लेवल जो है वो बातों को सुने, वो सही तरह से वर्कआउट नहीं कर रही थी, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली आर्टिकल 356 जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में बना हुआ है जिसके अंडर में प्रेसिडेंशियल रूल सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कभी भी जो है वो लगा सकती है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट पर. बट here we see that there is a state same party government in the center and states in the starting 40 years in India. But after the emergency in means it starts in 80s in India, that we see the opposition party also in India. So when in 1977 Congress was defeated by Jansang. Jansang was the main party at center. He immediately dissolved all the state parties where Congress was ruling under the Article 356. The same thing we will see in 1980 when Indira come in power. Immediately she done the same things, and the states where there were Jansang's party or BJP parties, Indira put Article 356 on all these states and dissolve all these states. The same things continue in the whole next 10 to 15 years in India. Then the third phase starts in India, the relations of state and centers in India. That was starts when the period of coalition government starts in India. Now people see that no one is listening them, not the Congress, not the BJP is listening them, and when BJP comes in center, it dissolves Congress. When Congress comes in center, it dissolves BJP state government. So small parties emerges. These parties were called the local parties or the regional parties. For example, the AIADMK, DMK, Dravid Munnetra Kadgam, Telugu Desam Party, Assam Gण Parishad, Lok Dal, Janata Dal, etc. These all parties are the local parties, regional parties. So when the elections were held in 1998, no single party get the full majority. So because of that, the single largest party with the help of many small regional parties make the government. अब इसका जो रिजल्ट सामने देखने को ये मिला कि जो स्टेट्स की छोटी छोटी प्रॉब्लम्स थी, ना सिर्फ स्टेट्स की, इवन किसी गांव की भी अगर छोटी सी प्रॉब्लम्स को, अगर तमिलनाडु का एक गांव है और उसकी एक प्रॉब्लम को सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट सॉल्व नहीं करती है तो इमीडिएटली द्रविड़ मुन्नेत्र कड़गम कहती है कि मैं आपसे अपना सपोर्ट वापस ले लूंगी. ऑब्वियसली सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को उसकी प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करना पड़ा. तो जो थर्ड फेज था, इस थर्ड फेज में हमको देखने को मिला कि कहीं ना कहीं लोगों की जो प्रॉब्लम्स थी वो अब सेंटर में पार्लियामेंट में सॉल्व होने लगी थी, क्योंकि जो रीजनल पार्टीज थी उनके पास अब पावर ज़्यादा आ गई थी और वो जब चाहें कभी भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को थ्रेट कर देती थी कि वो उनसे अपना सपोर्ट वापस ले लेंगे और इससे जो उनकी गवर्नमेंट है वो गिर जाएगी. तो इस तरह से जहाँ तक कोलिशन सेंटर स्टेट रिलेशंस की बात है, वी सी the three state relations in between them. In the first 40 years, we see the same party was ruling in India in states and center, that was Congress. In the next 20 years or 15 years, we see that the period comes when the opposite party, when come in power, immediately dissolve the state government. And when the third relation we will see after 1998, when the period of coalition period, when a period comes when the small parties also become a part of national government. Decentralization in India. The first is attempts which were taken for this are the panchayats in villages and the municipalities in urban areas were set up in all the states. A major steps was taken in 1992 towards this decentralization. The constitution was amendment to make the third tier. We have the first tier, the union. Already we were the second tier, the state government, and in this year we make the third tier, that is the local. In urban areas which is called the municipalities or municipal corporation, in the rural areas which is called the panchayat. So to make the third tier of democracy more powerful and effective by this amendment in the year 1992 under 73rd amendment of Indian constitutions. Under this 73rd amendment of Indian constitution, let us see some of the silent features of this act. Like, this provide the third tier systems of Panchayati Raj for all over the states having the populations of more than 20 lakhs. The second thing, to hold पंचायत elections after every 5 years. अब ये फाइनल हो गया कि हर 5 years में elections होंगे इसके. Now the next thing that is the 33% seats are reserved for backward classes, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, other backward classes and women also. These seats are reserved. The fourth feature is that now government appoint a state commission. The duty of state commission is to organize the local level elections. In cities, the municipality and municipal corporation elections, and in rural areas the panchayat elections. The fifth silent features of this act was that to continue district planning committee to prepare draft development plan for the district as whole. The means to constitute district planning committee. District planning committee. Now the powers and responsibilities of panchayat. The first thing is preparation of plan for economic development and social justice in the villages. Economic development है इसको करना था, प्लस इसके साथ ही था इसमें जो वो था to provide a social justice. The next one is that the implementations of schemes for economic development in the villages. And the third power or the responsibility given to the panchayats was that it will charge and collect all the due taxes, the duties, tolls like and fees. The demerits, everything has merits and demerits. Here also we can see some merits and demerits of the local government. If you see the first example, then the irregular elections. We will see some irregular elections in most states. Elections to panchayats are irregular and uncertain, leading, we will see, to monopoly of the previously elected powers. Similarly, we will see the second thing is that is the dominations of upper classes. Obviously, in the rural areas, the mostly we will see it is dominated by the rich farmers, the money lenders, landlords, and the upper caste people. So why the new Panchayati Raj? That is why the new Panchayati Raj Act, we will provide some reservations for, that is the 33% reservation for the SC, SC and other backward classes. The third demerit which we will see is the ignorance, illiteracy and poverty of the villages. Means ignorance, we will see about the rights which were given to the villages, and we will also see that is basically because of the illiteracy and poverty is too much in the villages, which lead to less enthusiasm about the Panchayati Raj systems Here, the next demerits which we will see is the excessive official control. The district officials interfere unnecessarily in the working of the panchayats, and because of this, it dissolve it and also dissolve it, and sometimes we will see suspend it according to their will. डेमोक्रेसी और फेडरलिज्म की जो स्पिरिट है वो इससे कहीं ना कहीं चली जाती है. Similarly, we will see some lack of adequate funds. A lot of money is needed for the development of the activities for the villages, and also need activity to municipalities for the development in the urban areas, but they have very less sources for this, very limited areas to get revenues from there, from where they will get the revenues. So this leads to ill functions of the panchayati systems in India. Though there are some these five, we will discuss some demerits of the panchayati raj in India. Even then, however, we will see that this panchayati raj or the local level increase the, कहीं ना कहीं इसने डेमोक्रेसी को और ज़्यादा पावरफुल बनाया हुआ है. इंडिया ही एक कंट्री है जहां पर हमको एक लेवल मिलता है यूनियन का, तो दूसरी तरफ मिलता है हमको डेमोक्रेसी को कवर किया हुआ है सेकेंड लेवल ने, विच इज़ द स्टेट लेवल, और वहीं पर ही हमको थर्ड लेवल और इसको मजबूत बना के रखा हुआ है, वो है उसका लोकल टायर, which is called the, in urban areas it is called the municipality or municipal corporations, and in rural area it is called the panchayats. This municipal corporation and panchayats is the main head of this. Third one is the Jila Parishad. Jila Parishad इसका head होता है. This is what we will see in this chapter about federalism in India, that there are three levels of federalism. The first one is the union, state and local government.